the Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. Valspar Championship bets, fantasy picks, one and done, plus a recap of the Players Championship. Reminder to everyone out there to smash the like button to the episode, sub to Mayo Media Network, and we have a charity March Madness bracket on the go right now. The link is down in the description, or you can go to leaguesafe.com/Mayo Madness in order to get your free entry. Here's the deal. For every free entry that we get into the Mayo Media bracket, $1 is going to be donated to the Fantasy Cares charity, and we have up to 25,000 spots. So let's try to fill. I don't care if you play March Madness or not. Hell, I don't even care if you fill out the bracket. Just register for the bracket, and boom, money goes to charity. Do you hate charity? Well, if you do, I can see why you wouldn't play. If you like donating for a good cause, like Fantasy Cares, then you should probably go register for your bracket right now, okay? Additionally, the winner is going to get $2,500 or Scott Fishbowl seats up for grabs. I think top 5 ends up paying out, so please go play in it. Raza, Cust, and I did our bracket breakdown on Mayo Media Network on the pod feed right now, so go check that out. The Listeners League, I do not have a link as of yet. I guess they're a bit tired after the Players Championship, and I can empathize with that a lot. It was a draining week after we didn't get the cut until the morning. Then there's a runaway, fun stuff, but I will have that updated for the Wednesday show with Tambo. Hopefully I get it by the end of the show, and I can stick it down in the description. I'll update the YouTube link. If you're an audio listener and you're looking for the Listeners League link, once I get it, I'll dump it into the YouTube comment section and description, but I can't update the pod feed to get a link to appear after the fact. The newsletter is going to have it as well, so go sub to that down in the description. Geoff Fienberg, another week, another sum of lost money when John Rahm or Scotty Scheffler win. So here we are, once again, top guys in the world winning. We kind of went over this on the fake cut sweat show that we did on Friday. You looked at the numbers, you saw Scheffler there. It's like, Scheffler's just going to win this, and this sucks.
Might have said it on the show. We have reached the point where Scotty in contention, he doesn't even have to be in the lead. Scotty Scheffler contending in a big event feels like that Brooks Koepka that we used to know. They don't have the same personalities, very different. They go about it very differently, but just that vibe I get, like, oh, damn, it's over. But at least with Brooks, Pat, he was still disrespected in the odds boards with like, we dare you to do it again. We dare you to do it again. And they'd still post, every major of his probably cashed with a 2 in front of it. I know the first US Open, I think I even had it a 40, but by the time we were on the last one, Scotty, not like the odds are, you could argue the odds are disrespectful and that he's underrated, at least going into the weekend. But, now we're having those conversations again. And yeah, I'm continuing to lose money betting outright golf. Yeah.
The only money I won this week was a top 8 from Sue, a top 20 from Sue, and a top 40 from Sue. Fortunately, Ben Griffin ended up cashing his top 40 despite the triple bogey on the last hole, but that was dead heated to death. That only ended up paying like even money on my bet. So not a great week. I was just hoping Ben Griffin could sneak inside the top 8, then all problems would have been solved, which was hilarious because he had a chance to finish inside of the top 8 going into the final hole and ended up coming T34 instead.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, a lot of silliness. The Players outside of Saturday. Saturday was a real letdown because it was everything the Players shouldn't be. No wind, an inch of rain on the golf course. The shot makers took it apart. We saw Hoagie, even Scheffler puts the ball in the water. He's shooting 7 under, to emphasize his dominance. And so I just need to wax a little more poetic. The guy is 6'3". He's got hands. He chips. He's always good for a chip-in. He's got the best tee to green game on planet Earth, and he has Spiethian level chips every weekend. Short-sided, I'll just chip in for eagle. Hatton makes 1 on 18. Maybe this thing's interesting. Scotty's in the rough. Chip in. Tournament's over. They'll make 3 more birdies. He does it so effortlessly, so beautifully. Used to marvel, like DJ was the first guy that was just so dominant and then could chip great, but his chipping took years, right? It was like a whole trajectory. And then Brooks came along and he just his short game, he had this touch instantly. Like, I've never seen a guy hit it so long and have that sort of touch. And we're here. It's, I don't want to take anything away from Spieth. It felt different. He's got 3 majors. He wins. But like, this level of just dominance and ease is something that feels, as good as these great players are, this level of dominance doesn't feel normal. And ease for which he goes around the golf course.
I agree with you. That was the name that popped into my head as I was thinking, like, what's the comp to this run that Scheffler's on? And it really does feel like that 2.5, 3-year run that Spieth is on at the moment. I only say that because we just get a dominating Players Championship win. The Masters win last year was pretty dominating in its own right. It got close for a little bit, and then he ended up running away with it, and he could 8-putt the final green. It didn't really matter. But we saw that with Spieth, too. Like, when he won the Masters, he blew everyone out of the water. And then he started grinding his way to a U.S. Open win. He makes the huge comeback against Kuchar in the Open Championship and picks up these other wins in just really dramatic fashion. Chipping in at the Travelers, chipping in to get into that playoff at the John Deere for his first ever win. I just rewatched the Valspar highlights when he beat Patrick Reed and Sean O'Hare in that playoff here in 2015, 14, whatever it was. I watched like 5 years of highlights on the stupid tournament, which I actually thoroughly enjoy.
The Chambers Bay chips, oh my God.
Yeah, but the Chambers Bay one is more remembered for Dustin, as you've always said.
Of course, I'm just
three-putting the final green.
Putting Aaron Spieth's tires, I'm able to, like, I can. Yes, I hate Chambers Bay, although they should go back there. It's beautiful. The USGA just awarded the amateur in 2051. Like, we don't even award Super Bowls or WrestleManias to the extent the USGA likes awarding its golf tournaments. I understand there's a lot that goes into logistics, but they need to just chill, I think, a little bit on that. I'm sorry for cutting you off, Beat, to be an idiot.
I don't even remember what I was saying now.
You were talking about Spieth and the comp to Spieth, and you're right. Spieth got, like, by the end of it, it felt luck-sacky a bit. And I called that out, and I'll still take heat for it, whatever. But the start of Spieth was just total dominance. Like you mentioned, the Masters, and just blowing people away and making it look so different than the other guys. And on the Brooks note, he's probably a night like yesterday, if he even watches or sees the score, probably makes him feel happy about his move. When he's like, I can't even compete with that guy.
Well, no one can compete with this guy. John Rahm had the shits, and he had to WD, and Rory just kind of went away. He was very Anderker, so that actually makes a lot of sense. There is something weird about this run, though, and I threw this out on Twitter. I got a little bit of pushback, but not too much, because I think people kind of agree. Something needs to happen with Scottie Scheffler, and I don't want it to be like a legal situation, but if we could just copy and paste Shooter McGavin's personality onto Scottie Scheffler, I feel like it would be far more compelling. There is nothing compelling about Scottie Scheffler. There was something compelling about Spieth. Because when you look at Scheffler, he looks like the prototypical, like, great golfer, right? You said he's 6'3". He has these great hands. He hits it a mile. He kind of slips when that's his biggest thing. Like, he scrambles crazy and he kind of slips when he hits the ball. But that doesn't seem to be a big thing. At least with Spieth, like, who is this, like, kid who's, like, tiny and getting all these wins at this point of his career? Like, he doesn't seem like he should be as good as the very top end guys. Scheffler just looks like he belongs. He's always looked like he's belonged. And when he wasn't winning, it was like, how the hell isn't this guy winning? It's kind of strange. It's like the same comp that we're going to have in 3 years' time when Zalatoris has a major and 6 wins at the same time. It's like, oh yeah, it just took him a little while to get going. Because I think that's sort of like, when I look at how Scheffler's career has been going, Zalatoris is just kind of the next guy up along that sort of path. Like, he's going to get the putter figured out a little bit. That was always the thing that held Scheffler back, and now 5 tournaments a year, he just putts unconsciously, and that's going to be the end of it. But he just has no juice. There is no personality, no juice. At least with Brooks, when he was going through this, people had an opinion on Brooks. You either liked Brooks or you hated Brooks. People nothing Scottie Scheffler. So unless he goes on some Tiger-esque run where he legitimately blows everyone out at every single major all of the time, I just don't see where the traction you get with Scottie Scheffler unless he just becomes an open asshole, which I'm for. because I want to root against him because I never bet on him or anything like that, but I can't bet against him or root against him because he seems like just an affable, super nice guy.
Yeah, he gives you nothing to root against. As you mentioned with Brooks, he's there winning, and then he's cutting goddamn promos like he didn't even practice. And the Tiger thing, you're right. This needs to go one or two ways on the Tiger path. Either the total dominance, or you got to give us some red meat that makes me know you're a scoundrel in some ways. He's a total bore. People were kind of losing their minds, Pat, that he went to the range after his round on Saturday. And my response to that, what's he going to go home and do? Read the Bible or play a board game? And I don't even think he plays these new fun adult board games. Well, I hear they're fun. People like them. I don't go to any of these like board game shops. I don't own them.
What do you
I
like?
see
Cussed?
Settlers of.
You're like Cussed?
I see
you
Settlers
you
of.
hate board game bars.
I see Settlers of Catan and some of my other friends' shelves, but I'm never one to say let's rip that out. Scheffler seems like he's playing the like old school board games, like backgammon and dominoes, which great fun. I'm here for the classics. So he's went to hit balls, and then yesterday's like, yeah, people were being weird about that. I literally only went to hit 10 balls. He's just worried about his left miss when he hit one in the water. And here's the thing about Scheffler. He'll hit it in the water. He'll still have 18 feet for par.
And make it every time.
Like, and people are like, Fienberg, you're so annoying. You're just wound up on air on hyperbole because a month ago I was probably doing this about John Rahm. And you're right. But John Rahm, I was just like, it was like happy he was winning. It doesn't feel as dominant as this, especially in the big events. That's Scheffler's thing. It's just the big events. He's more likely to blow his lead at the Valero than he is at a major or something super special. Like his trophy case is insane. And we're going to match play again next week. And I got things to say about that because we went off the air like 10 minutes before I found out that thing was canceled.
Well, it's not
break my heart.
It's not canceled. It's happening this year. It's just not happening next year.
Well, what does that mean?
Well, maybe you can come back the year after that. Maybe they'll end up finding a place for match play. I like Cuss reimagining of. Did you hear his take about the match play?
No.
His
probably horrible.
Oh, it's really bad. He's like, well, you still get match play because the Ryder Cup and President's Cup happen every year.
Okay, I'm the loser that this league that I love just throws pies at my face. They just throw pies at my face. I'm this proponent that you got 50 weeks. Who needs another 72-hole stroke play event? Add a mixed thing with the women's. I don't mind the shitty team thing in Zurich because who cares? 8 of these things matter, as Adam Scott would say. But if you take away match play, then just blow them all the fuck away. I don't want women and I don't want team Zurich. No. You don't even give me the premier change of pace event. Just get rid of them all then. I don't stand for any of them. I don't support any of them. Like how Zurich would want their name on that shit when match play's available. It better be 1 year. Or pro golf could become my ex-wife. I don't have an ex-wife. I love my wife. We are amazing. But I'm just saying, they are just nicking away at me. And I don't have the 10-year-old boy equity like I do with the Toronto Blue Jays or the Chargers. I don't. So, and they're really just pissing me off. Taking away match play. For who? For what? If I run an event, I'm begging for match play. Like if I'm any of these mid-run event, I'm begging. I'll do match play. Bring match play to me. I get Sunday can be boring and random, but they can do so much with Sunday. They're just too stupid to figure it out.
I'm glad you hit on that because I was, and this will never happen.
But they could get quarterbacks.
I know we've
like,
heard this. We've heard you go through it.
No, but they could do it. It's so easy.
I know you've spelled it out like 20 times on the show. I'm dead with you on what they could do to pump it up a little bit. I was thinking of incorporating that idea into these elevated events where there's no cut anymore. How about we still have a cut, but if like John Rahm misses the weekend and Rory misses the weekend, that like the fourth to last group is Rahm versus Rory in $1 million match or something like that, and just have them as a group anyway.
I'm all here for it. I had my idea on the cut sweat that anyone not ranked in the top 70 in a no, like, let's keep the cut. But if you're not ranked in the top 70 and you're contending, you're allowed to have Rahm or Rory hit up to 3 shots for you on Sunday. Wouldn't that be really intriguing? Maybe we could even, like, if they're events they're not even in town for, we have them in a studio with a simulator and they could just still be part of it, because that's what people are tuning in for. They don't understand the charm of golf at this moment is that the world number one can change any time unless we have a dominant player. That's the only thing golf has going for it, is how often we have this contention for the top. But I think they'd prefer total dominance. And I don't disagree.
But we are getting that, though, because when you take a look at when sports have reached their peak over the past 25 years or so, baseball peaks during the steroid era and the home run race. That was the big story, but it was also an era of Yankees dominance year after year. When did the NBA ratings start to, I mean, I know the Warriors won last year, but that Warriors 5-year run versus LeBron, everyone was tuning into the finals because that was compelling stuff. Dynasties sell tickets. Dynasties end up being the things that draw in the ratings. And if Rahm and Scheffler are just going to win every single event, as much as we hate it, it's actually kind of good for golf. Now, I don't think Scheffler's the right guy unless he wins 10 times this year or something like that. It kind of reminds me of the year that VJ won as much as Tiger, but no one gave a shit about VJ.
What a forgotten soul. I got into a YouTube rabbit hole. It was like the most hated golfers ever. I don't think I finished the video, but yeah, VJ was near the very top.
Is there any doubt that VJ, I mean, I'm shocked he didn't sign with Liv anyway as a 70-year-old, but he would have been first guy to sign up.
Oh, 100%. And you're right. I don't know if he even has any play. Where Fiji? Yeah, he's from Fiji. Yeah, he oh my God, he'd have gotten the biggest bag from them. If this happened in his day, for sure.
But I want to say it was
number one
2004. He didn't win any majors over that time. He won his majors before that. But I think he won 7 times in the year Tiger won 8 times or something crazy like that. It was a clear 1-2. It was sort of the anti-Scheffler in a way, where VJ would just show up at every tournament and wax people, and Tiger would pull the Scheffler, show up at the big tournaments and win them all.
Yeah, but also here's the other part of it. VJ, even though being the asshole that nobody liked, didn't gain that traction of suspense either. It was just, we don't even care for you, right? Because you're saying be an asshole, that can make you incredibly engaging, and maybe it did. I can't really speak to how true PGA fans felt in 03 about VJ, but he did play that asshole card.
Yeah, but I felt like he played the asshole card really on the down low. Not so much that people didn't know, but it wasn't publicly broadcasted.
Yeah.
Cam's got some good VJ stories.
Yeah, next time you do your show with Cammy Boy, just toss a little red meat about VJ and just let him choose his own adventure. Everyone will laugh. Many people, yeah, many will laugh.
Because we mentioned Spieth and Brooks as a comp to what Scheffler is doing right now. I think there's a big comp to Finau too. Finau has 2 things going for him that Scheffler doesn't. Scheffler has one thing, that he wins all the time, so that's something that Finau doesn't do. But Finau for years was sort of the lovable loser. That was an angle that he had to play. People liked him. He's a nice guy, like Scheffler. People like him. He's a nice guy. But Finau can't pull through. He always lets you down. But you always go back to Finau, and somehow that's made him more likable. And Finau actually seems kind of cool, where Scheffler doesn't.
I was going to say, the big difference, doesn't matter how many trophies they'll each have. Finau, everyone will want at a party. Scotty Scheffler makes no difference if he's at the party. Finau busts a move. There's personality, forgetting the enormous family, which you're kind of surprised. Well, Scheffler kind of recently actually got married, so he probably just started having sex. So maybe that's why he's been so good too.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah, you'd
consider
wonder,
that
like,
part
he
of it.
should have a Philip based on the rules that he has to live by. He one day might have a Finau Philip Rivers travel long team, because we didn't meet Finau till he was way older. We already like had the kids. Scheffler still fresh. And Scheffler could have won 2 or 3 big events before he actually won the big events, right? He was like Cam Young for a year.
Yeah, very much so. Like, he finished top 20 in all 4 of the majors the year before he ended up breaking out. So it's all there for him. And the difference between him and Rahm, because someone said that too, is like Rahm's sort of a nothing burger. It's like, that's not true. Everyone has an opinion on Jon Rahm. You either like Jon Rahm or you hate Jon Rahm. There are very few neutral people on Jon Rahm.
100%. And people are always, I like Jon Rahm. I like him a lot. Can't bet him. I am sometimes, as always, enjoy, as much as I'm a Jon Rahm fan, like, I like knowing that boiling point is coming too. Like, even Jon Rahm fans like to enjoy when Grumpy shows up, I guess you would call it, unless you have money on him and he's deep into it, which is often the case, except the money part.
And with Scheffler, it's sort of the opposite. He's just such a blank slate. I mean, it's a lot like Dustin in that way. You don't get that emotion from him, and that's what makes him such a fucking killer. Is that he's going to go out there, even when he ended up making bogey, the one bogey he ended up making on the back after rattling off the birdie streak to make the turn. He puts it into the shit out on the right. He's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll just chip it out. I'll give myself a par putt of 20 feet. He actually missed one for the first time all day, and then just taps it in. He's like, yeah, I'm still up by 5. I wouldn't worry about that. Well, he doesn't seem to be concerned when things aren't going his way, which is such a unusual skill that a golfer can have. It's one of the very top end skills a golfer can have, and all the greats kind of have it, and he has it too. But it doesn't make it the most compelling TV. Just seeing some guy bomb it, hit a fairway, put it to 30 feet, try to 2-putt, half the time he makes it.
When you make as many birdies as he's going to make in a round, you can swallow the bogey. And he doesn't make doubles. Everyone went around there making numbers. Even the guys that played great made the numbers. All those guys at 10 made a double this week. Hideki, Vic, Homa, they all found a double. Maybe more than one, to be perfectly honest, but they all have at least one that I can cite. Scheffler, he doesn't even make double. He'll have no chance to lose without that double.
Okay, so we'll finish on Scheffler. Scheffler's amazing. He's going to be the favorite at match play, where he's come second and first the last 2 years. He's now the favorite at the Masters out there. We did make our Masters bet, and that number is gone now. So I hope people were following along on Twitter when I put that out. And it wasn't sort of like a recency bias thing based on one good round. We made the bet before the round started, and the moment we made the bet, Min-Woo Lee holes out for eagle on the first hole.
Yeah, Min-Woo to win the Masters. Giggle away, boys. Giggle away.
Hey, 150 to 1's our lucky number.
There it is. Listen, he's been playing well. I was sort of tilting that he could win because I think I'd bet him all through Florida. And like, no, the player's just too big for him. First time there, all that stuff. And I wasn't really interested in betting bombs. And as much as the players is a wild card event, Pat, what do we got? It's now Rory, JT, Cam Smith, Scheffler.
Yep.
Like, it's just lining up like all the other majors now in terms of winner's circle. Back to it.
Back to that Masters bet for Min-Woo. Min-Woo made his debut at Augusta a year ago and was T14. And when you watch his game, it's Augusta suited. The dude fucking crushes it off the tee. He was hitting it farther than Scheffler did. And he's like 5'2" or something like that. And he has like an evil mustache, which is just absolutely great stuff. He has the short sleeve turtleneck, which I very much enjoy. And he's a young guy on the up and up. And that's, if you ever want to catch a long shot at the Masters, you need to find someone whose talent is undervalued in the market. And I mean, he's down to like 60 to 1 now, that I think that me, you, and all of our friends ended up crushing that number, very much like the Homa number at the US Open a few months back after he had won at Torrey. We all hit the 50 and now it's down to like 20 or something crazy like that. But I just think that, listen, I'm not saying that Min-Woo's going to win the Masters, Masters, but he has the right skill set in order to do that. He crushes off the tee, his irons get super hot, and he's a really streaky putter. Really bad with his wedges, despite what Paul Azinger might say, where he's, one of the best in the world with his wedges, where that is statistically very much not true. But I enjoyed, because of that bet, seeing him be in that final group and fucking fizzling out. Everyone who is an up-and-comer needs that. Before you get that on a big stage, and listen, I know that the Players isn't the U.S. Open and it isn't the Masters, but it's pretty damn close when it comes to the pressure that gets amped up, and especially with that much water lurking around. Like, the nerves can really get to you, and the nerves got to him on Sunday, being in contention, trying to win $5 million. But now he's been through it. We've seen it with guys time after time after time. Before they actually get to their breakthrough, they go through this sort of thing. Remember Mike Weir paired with Tiger at the PGA Championship in the final group, and I think he shot an 80, and then he goes and wins the Masters like the next year. So you have to take your lumps a little bit. It's no different than any sport. You see teams kind of overcome and persevere, these young teams, but like the Chiefs got knocked out in the AFC Championship game. They lost that heartbreaker. Sometimes you have to lose on the big stage to know how to win on the big stage, and that's where I'm going with Minwoo right now. That's the narrative that I'm going to be putting into play.
Oh, yeah. When you're trying to chase something, you can always take solace in that. And especially when you're not invested in what that player is chasing. That makes any sense. Like, if you had money on him to win the Players, you would have felt differently probably about that meltdown. We're sitting there with the Masters long shot. Listen, we've had our long shot's been Thomas Peters before, and you can laugh at it. And we've hit Magic once before. Can he slay a dragon on Sunday? Maybe unlikely, but we're loaded. Minwoo, let's go.
Yeah, let's have it. And technically, he's not even in the Masters as of yet, but with his sixth place finish at the Players, he's now up to 45th in the world. He entered the week 50. So I think that the next cutoff is after match play, which he's going to be in. So it would be very hard for him to slip out, because I was looking at the world rankings, like, who can pass him? Well, guys, 49 and 50 in the world rankings are Gooch and Mito. So they're not getting any world rankings points between now and then. In fact, they're going to fall out. And Thomas Peters is directly above him, who's now also on live. So he's not going to collect any points anymore either. So I think Minwoo is going to be pretty safe to be a Masters invitee. Although if you make the bet and he doesn't qualify, you don't get that money back, as we have found out the hard way a few times. But I have my faith that he is going to be in the field at the Masters, and 150 to 1. I think there's still 125s out there right now, but DraftKings Sportsbook cut him to 66 like instantly. Night after he has a good finish, boom, he gone. And we're not seeing anyone else fall down the charts. One other thing I wanted to talk about with the Players in the context of the Players Championship, I thought it was a fun juxtaposition between, remember the year that Siwoo won and Poulter came second, and Poulter had that shot from the pine straw in 18, and he decided to just, you know what, fuck it. I'm not going for it, although if I can get this, I still have a chance to win and beat Siwoo. And he was like, I am very content with laying this up and cashing my $1.5 million payday, or whatever it was then. The solo second, it got him enough points to get into the Masters. Like, it was very valuable for him to come in second. And Hatton yesterday was just like, fuck it. I'm going to aim at the middle of the water and try to hit a slice by the pin. And he fucking pulled it off. It was incredible.
What a goddamn shot. What a goddamn shot. Unfreaking believable. I think in context, the situation was a little different, because in that very moment, Hatton probably still thought that if I post 12, this course is crazy. And between Scheffler and what felt like the winds dying down, and honestly, they were never that firm on Sunday. I didn't see balls that, were sort of running off the green that were hit properly, unless they were spun off the green. But yeah, what a shot. What a shot. Speechless. Like, jaw on the floor shot.
Any other thing? Do you know who led the field in approach at the Players?
I know Tommy was in 5th, and he'll have to watch another next year when there's a rain delay. He'll have to watch a replay of this one and see himself play like ass.
It's true,
because he joked that he was in the final group the year Rory won, and there have been a lot of rain delays recently at the Players, so that thing gets replayed a lot, and he gets to watch himself melt down on Sundays. Although this time they didn't really have to watch it, because it wasn't on TV after the fucking second hole.
So, guys,
I bet he would have won 5th and approach.
He was not 5th in approach, but he ended up dunking the ball on 17. He was 10th in approach for the week. He finished behind Lingmerth, Cam's guy, and Shane Lowry, who just legit couldn't make a putt all week. Morikawa beat everyone on approach, but his putting was bad after round 1. Like, it wasn't even great in round 1, but it was fine. The chipping was fine. The driving ended up being fine, but that's what cost him in this tournament. Like, he was still kind of like, he was 3rd going into the weekend. He was ahead of Scheffler. He was 1 behind Scheffler, whatever it was. And dude lost the ability to drive the ball the final 2 rounds. Like, when you have a drivable par 4 open to you on Saturday and Sunday, like, that's the Morikawa bread and butter. That's how he won his majors. That's how he won his big events, with drivable par 4s, because his driver was so locked in. It's turning into a Justin Thomas situation where you never expected him to drive it 350 yards, but you would expect that he could have it dialed in 300 down the middle every time, and just, that's gone. The irons are there, and I think it's gonna come back around, but that really worried me watching him on the weekend when everyone's shooting 64 on Saturday and he's over par.
Yeah. Even like a 1 over par on Saturday probably feels like a 6 or 5 over par, because a lot of guys even fought who were having ugly rounds, found those easy holes on the back 9 and took advantage of them. Lingmerth, that was fun to see.
Did we see a shot of his on Sunday?
I don't know.
I don't think we did, because I was talking when we were about to do the March Madness show. I was telling Tim, I was like, yeah, I think Lingmerth was in like the second to final group. He's like, really? I don't remember that. I was like, yeah, he must have been like 85 today. And I looked at it and I was like, oh no, he actually finished in 6th place.
No, I think he finished Saturday worse than you think, because I think he was at 8 under. So he wasn't in those like last 3 or 4 groups.
I mean, he had to have been, because he shot like even par, didn't he? I mean, it doesn't matter what David Lingmerth did. I thought it was strange that he wasn't on TV. I remember seeing his caddy's nameplate on one of the Scheffler shots once they got like to the end of 16. I think he was waiting on 17 or something like that. They crossed paths at one point. I was like, oh yeah, David Lingmerth is playing, and he was near the top of the leaderboard at some point. Anything else that you want to go to? Any issues with Rory? Rory misses the cut. Rory actually played okay. He couldn't chip to save his life. That's what ended up doing him in.
No issues with Rory. He's probably got to take a big gulp, as the other guys are playing so great before the Masters and he isn't.
I mean, is he not? Hold on, is he not playing well? Dude,
not as great.
Dude came second last week and won earlier this year.
I take that back. That the other guys are just playing as good or better, and he's playing well. Sorry, in the context of those big 3. Feels like you'd probably rank him 3rd for the Masters at this moment, but things change quickly. And I don't have anything bad to say about Rory the golfer. That'd be impossible for me. Rory the statesman always talks out of both sides of his mouth. Like, even when he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, there's a contradictory comment from previous or other. But he's gotten really obnoxious with a lot of his talking points on a sort of the current landscape in golf, but I'll go even mainly to his comments like last week that people don't like seeing good players make bogeys. He's so out of touch, and there's a reason why he's struggling to win majors, because they involve bogeys, and as his record shows, doesn't really win well or play well when the winning score is going to be under 10 under par.
Well, in fairness to him, he won at Congo at like 14 under par. I think there was one other player under par.
That's a different golfer. Like,
I understand that. I understand that's a different golfer, but at the same time, that was an incredibly difficult track. He just dominated it.
Yeah, no, that was him at his peak. I agree. I would say since that, he has not found an affinity for those courses, which is strange because you're right. It's totally unfair to bring that up. I'm happy you're here without mentioning that on his resume. That is fabulous. That is, I mean, maybe I'm just in my little bubble of golf, but
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'm looking at
performance and like Brooks at Shinnecock, the 2 greatest, toughest golf courses I've ever seen. And those guys just took them apart.
Looking at it right now, you're kind of right. Since, I mean, generally speaking, he just comes out and when he plays well, we talk about it. I think there was that debate going around too. When the guys are playing their best, who is the best? We always talked about that for years. And it seems like that may have shifted now, that we always said that if Tiger aside, like Tiger can't be a part of this conversation. But if Rory's A game showed up and he played at his best, no one was going to beat Rory. Because when you see that he gets locked in, it's over. And no matter how difficult the course is, how easy the course is, when he's locked in, he's locked in. It doesn't really seem to matter. It's just that seems to be becoming less and less and less prevalent now. And to go back and look at his wins, the only like low-ish score that he has won at, he won the Wells Fargo last year when he beat Answer by a stroke, and he had to take that drop. He decided to take the drop from like the unplayable and ended up putting it on the green and 2-putting for the win by a stroke over Answer at Wells Fargo. He won that at -10. Everything else, -17, -21, -19. Resort course Rory is coming for you.
I have it here, and it's from Josh Perry on Twitter, who I enjoy, and he puts out good golf content. He loves betting the world. You know, he hates these like LET tour winners. Maybe that's where we should be betting because the PGA Tour is not for us. One thing of note with Rory, he has 32 wins on the PGA and Euro Tours. One was match play. The other 31 were all double-digit under par. A couple early majors he won could have been won at single digits. He just crushed everyone. But overall, he's shown what he likes, you know, and that was in response to Rory saying, the lead changing hands with guys making bogeys, not really birdies. I don't really see how people find entertainment value. What a fucking comment. On that note, Pat, I'm not letting us get to Valspar yet. So I'm going to put air in DraftKings tires. They're the best. So on DraftKings this morning. What did I see before Valspar odds showed up? WGC match play. And if you think I've lost money so far this season, you've got no idea what's in store when match play and the Masters happen in a 21-day window, friends. So load that shit up. Colin Morikawa, 35-1. Tyrrell Hatton is 40-1. He will go off at 28-1 in that tournament. You want closing line value? Go to DraftKings right now. Bet Hatton 40-1 to win match play. Bet Morikawa 35-1 to win match play. They're going to make him putt out. It's a concern. Victor Hovland, the way he's striking a ball, the triple bogey won't hurt us. There's a 3 in front of his name at DraftKings.
Rahm is tied with Cantlay in terms of the betting market, same as Xander. Rahm is like pulling a Brooks and Patrick Reed right now, where the moment he doesn't win the tournament before, people think he sucks all of a sudden. Okay,
I noticed that too. Rahm at 14-1, you could argue has great value.
Yeah.
And Sungjae's 18, like these numbers are crazy.
Yeah, I'm just saying like, Sungjae's a bad number. Xander, Cantlay, and Rahm are all 14-1. One of those names is way different than the other two.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, you could find some good things. I couldn't really find anything deep good unless you're into the Hideki turnaround at 60 compared to the other. Like Hideki's the same number as Bezadenhout. You know, things will get reset. But there are some bets on here, Pat, that I think you can make pre-pod and pre-bracket.
Yeah, I like this Hatton number at 40 a lot.
It's going to be, if you're into CLV, which means dog, dick, and golf, I joke about that all the time. But if you're on those CLV guys, Hatton is the play here. That will be 28-30-1 next week.
Don't even have Minwoo in the field. Poor guy.
Oh, they don't? Good, yeah, good spot. How to look for
He's not there. They do have Thomas Peters. I wouldn't bet on Thomas Peters. Put it that way.
Yeah, no, you're not getting fair number with the real long shots. Like there's a lot of readjustment that can go on here. But Morikawa, he's been great in Ryder Cups. 35. It's kind of like past the point of no return in some respects with the number. Like,
yeah, and that Hatton number will be gone because it's not like he's playing this week. So he can't damage his number at all. The only things you're going to have sticking out in your mind are he came second at Bay Hill and he came second at the Players. Pretty good for him. We know how good he is at match play.
Yeah. And yeah, that's probably the one that I expect. You can get the best CLV on a really good player who I assume, Pat, he's not even going to be a top seed.
No.
Which you could argue that's a good or bad thing. So yeah, there's probably going to be a higher ranked player in his bracket. That could be a concern, but at 40-1, I don't mind it.
No, Hatton will be Hatton's going to be a 1 seed.
sort of looking at.
I'm looking at it goes by the official world golf rankings. So he's 17th in the world right now, but Cameron Smith isn't playing in this, obviously, and he's number 5, so that will bump him up the spot.
Okay, good. That's all right. We'll get our again, pre-bracket. I'm comfortable making that bet. Pre-pod, pre-bracket, all of it.
The two seeds in this tournament are hilarious, by the way. Here are some of the two seeds that I'll list out to you right now. So you have Sung Jae and Tom Kim and Hideki. That makes a lot of sense. Then you have Kitayama, Keegan, Hoagie, Horschel, Fleetwood, Harmon, Thigala, Straka, Rose, Seamus Power, Chris Kirk, Russell Henley, and Ryan Fox. Those are the two seeds.
What was and last year was Scheffler Kisner. Was that the final?
Yeah, then it was a Horschel Kisner. No, Horschel Scheffler. Or did Horschel beat Scheffler, right? 2 years ago?
Yeah, but I think last year was Scheffler, Kisner, and Connors, I think, may have been a deep run.
Yeah, Connors made the run. He beat DJ in the third place game.
Oh, of course, the third place game. DJ would have walked off the course if he wouldn't have gotten,
Yeah, and Connors is still eligible. Connors slipping down the world rankings, by the way. He's down to 40th.
But I'm not, Pat. The 21-day window between match play and the Masters is probably the highlight of my golf year. Like, it does not get better than that for me, personally.
Okay.
No shit for DraftKings, but it is.
Oh, I like match play DraftKings. I think it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of strategy that goes into it.
Okay, yeah, fine. A lot of people rail on it in some respects, but cannot deny the high level of strategy that is incorporated in going through it, and you're out of the gate facing dead lineups, right? Because people are idiots.
Well, it all depends on. It's not that they're dead lineups. It's that they don't have the potential to maximize their lineup, which is almost impossible to do, getting like 6 of 6 through each of the quadrants and the brackets and try to have them play each other. It just never ends up happening, but that is your path to the most points. I will say that Fantasy National's lineup generator for DraftKings for match play is pretty untouchable with this. You can set up all of your rules very easily to make your picks to make sure that you're covered in each of the quadrants. But I had an idea last year is like, why don't you just double stack? What if you double stack like one side of a bracket in like a cash game type of scenario? Would it work if you went like 3 and 3 and then had your guys play each other to guarantee that you had someone into the Elite 8? You would need a lot of upsets to happen along the way and some of the bigger name, the chalkier names to get bounced. And I think we tried it last year. I think Sky has all the details on that. But we'll talk match plays next week. We'll talk tons about the match play.
Yeah. Aaron Wise is 40-1. You can bet Ty Hatton at the same number.
Yeah, can you throw $50 on that for me, Terrell Hatton?
I will do that.
Thank you very much.
Right now.
Valspar Championship. I really like Copperhead. Copperhead's a fun course. Copperhead's a difficult course. The rough has been grown out an extra inch this year. It's now up to 3.75 inches from 3 inches. It's a big grower. Not just a shower anymore. It is now technically a grower. So expect it to play even more difficult. I think they've been kind of mad with how Sam Burns has not really taken this place apart the past 2 years, but he's the back-to-back champion, -17 both years. They want this winning score to be around -10. They want this to be one of the more difficult courses that's out there. And we've seen some -5 winners, some -10 winners. I think that's the sweet spot for this tournament. If you're not going to have the greatest field, you got to make it hard and make it interesting in that kind of way. Justin Thomas is playing in this field. He generally plays, and he has a chance to, I think, complete the Florida Slam here, Jeff. I think this is the last one on his list in order to win.
He's never won Bay Hill.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. He's won Honda, and he's won the Players. So he got those two. Now he
wouldn't even go to Bay Hill if it wasn't elevated, I feel.
That is true. He hadn't played it in like 8 years or something like that beforehand. But looking at DraftKings Sportsbook right now and checking out the Valspar odds, the top odds in the field, JT is the favorite at 10-1. Spieth is 12. Burns is 16. Fitzpatrick is 18. Fleetwood, Keegan, Rose, and Hadwin are all 25-1 now. Fleetwood and Hadwin have been bet down from 28. I'll be perfectly transparent with you. I bet Adam Hadwin at 28-1. Why? Now he rates out number 1 on my Fantasy National model, so that helps. He's won here before. And just, I don't want to miss this. I think that Hadwin's playing some good golf. I love this course for him. And, if you have Casey going back-to-back and you have Burns going back-to-back, maybe bookend that with a Hadwin win and a Hadwin win. It seems outrageous to bet Adam Hadwin at 28 to 1. But, I keep losing bets, so fuck it. I want to bet on the guys I want to bet on if I'm going to lose anyway.
That's the attitude. How do you get out of your hole? Bet who you want to bet on.
And I have
the winning attitude. It hasn't helped me, but we're working on it.
So I have another guy from up here that I do want to bet because I found a place where he's 14 to 1. I kind of want to bet Spieth. I think that Spieth is going to win.
Yeah, what's 14?
Yeah, 14's a pretty cool place you can bet, and they're listing a 14 to 1 right now. I mean 12 to 1, like whatever. If you're going to go to the top of the board, you're going to be spending some bucks to try to get your bets to pay out what you want them to pay out, but I just feel like everything points to Jordan Spieth. He had a really good week last week. He's had a couple really good weeks in a row. The irons are back. We know he's going to chip. Can he make enough putts, and can he not be a disaster off the tee? Like, those are the two things that you need to mitigate. But if the rough is going to be grown out here, and it's going to be a difficult track, that's where I want Spieth, isn't it?
That is where you want Spieth. And the way golf betting is going in the last year, it's telling you don't overthink anything. Like, identify the really good player and just bet them, even if it means being angry at yourself on Thursday that you didn't bet this long shot that got off to a good start, but he's still not going to win, right? I'm not betting it. I still, for whatever reason, haven't taken the signs that say just bet like close to the very top. I haven't bet it. I'm not going to bet it, but your case is strong.
I just bet it. Spieth 14 to 1. I have to change something up. I'm not fucking winning. I'm just losing every single week. And the guys from like 20 to 1 and under keep winning every single week. Watch this be the week like a 300 to 1 wins, whatever it is. But
okay, so you're in on Hadwin. You're in on
Spieth. Those are the two that I want to go with.
You're in on Spieth and whatever. So you miss the dead range. You got to come back in, like, knowing how you bet. You'll just show up later.
I have one more guy that I am betting from inside 100 to 1, but that's it.
I know who it is, but
it's
cheating because I think I saw you tweeting about it.
It's the same guy that everyone has bet this week. What are you planning on doing at the top of the board? Do you think Burns makes it a three-peat? Like, Thomas was incredible at the Players, but he couldn't putt at all. Like, the ball striking was out of this world good.
Yeah, I'm not betting Thomas. Not betting Burns. I'm not doing anything.
Tommy?
Hadwin. I'm staring at Tommy, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't tell you to, I'm not going to besmirch you, just betting who you want. But because Hadwin feels like the smarter play. You sort of outlined it. Tommy just feels like the play for me. Maximum disappointment. I've always been disappointed here. Outside of, what was it? Luke Donald. This one's had like 8 names. Hit a Luke Donald here, like way, way back before me and you even started hanging out. But a lot of disappointment from like Graham Dillette to Paul Casey to
Patrick Reed. I had a bad Jason Kokrak one. That was bad.
Paul Casey before he won back-to-back.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of those. I was betting Paul Casey here before he won here. So, yeah, I got to clear that up.
Looking back at the past winners and who has played well at this tournament over the years, it's all live guys.
This was the Stenson one or was that Heritage?
That was Heritage.
This was a bit.
What? Yeah, no, this was the Stenson had the shits, had to quit.
Yeah, and people love this because Stenson's the premier 3-wood guy, right?
Yeah.
I've burned a lot of money on Woodland here. I'll do it again. Dare me. You don't have to. I will.
He's won this event before.
Yeah. I probably wasn't betting him then. But
no, that was in 2011, I believe. Now, I'm with you on Woodland. He was someone I identified very early on. But with the way that now that I've bet Spieth, like, I can't get to Gary because there is a guy that I like more around that sort of range that I am going to go to. And then that's kind of it for me.
So that makes a lot of sense. Is there anything to say? I mean, Keegan Bradley,
Cursed.
I will say, one thing that I was surprised about in golf discourse last week, although I got tons of things wrong, the volatility of Sawgrass, and to a lot of people, Keegan Bradley was all of a sudden a reliable player, like a safe player in terms of the DraftKings and such. And that was something I, sort of fought back on before the event started. And was like, listen, Keegan's playing well, but the notion that he's like your safe guy, people got to bring a life jacket.
Yeah, and now we return to the site of where full Keegan actually was born.
And do it one time, you get a nickname forever. Although he always flirts with it. Nothing else here for me. Although Rose is playing fantastic, and not that it was up for debate. He's probably already locked himself onto the Ryder Cup with the win, and now that player's performance. I don't see how he gets knocked out. There's no more veterans.
It's true. All right, let's go to the next range then. I bet Justin Sue at 40-1.
Okay, I knew you would.
And
I knew you would.
And when I did the research show, I looked at it. Wyndham Clark is a very attractive option this week. I think that Gary Woodland is a very attractive option this week, and I think that Justin Sue is. If I didn't bet Spieth, I would bet all three of those guys. But now I'm forced to make a decision based on my card and what I want to win this week, and I got to stick with the one guy that I like the most, and that's Justin Sue. I mean, he just basically everything that I won on him last week, I can parlay over into this week. Dude's been playing incredible.
Yeah, I see it all. This is a range where I even, do I get sucked into the Davis Riley vortex of moments of awesomeness that woo me in, but just devastation coming. I don't think that Denny McCarthy seen it as high. I guess it's come down because I saw some 40s. I thought that was really fair for how he continues to play at a place where he could plot along nice. But Woodland, Sue, Riley for me. And I wanted to ask if this is a Mav McNeely course, because I feel like just little shot making courses have always been where I've lost money on McNeely in the past. He was probably my favorite pick here a year ago. Didn't end well.
I mean, anytime that anyone has ever bet Maverick McNeely to win anything, they've lost money.
Yeah. Well, he's won one thing.
Your heart?
No, the race out of his dad's dick.
Well, would you rather? Who do you think is now higher up on that chain? Is it Mav McNeely or is it Pearson Cootie?
I'm not sure. I still think it's Mav McNeely. That was a big race, though. That was a big race. It was a big race. Big win.
There are some fun names in here, like the guys that I generally lose money on, like Ben Ann is in here. Brandon Wu coming off a nice week. Ben Griffin is now 45-1. Did you know he's a loan officer? Didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. What? How do you put this? When you ingest so much of the PGA content, what I would describe it to, Pat, is someone who, like, how do I put this? When you watch baseball, you watch every game of your team. It's such a localized broadcast that you know all those ins and outs. But then your team goes national, and those stories are just told relentlessly through that, like, ESPN broadcast that annoy the shit out of you because you've known them since spring training, if that makes any sense. Yeah, exhausting. If you endure the wide gambit, what's the word?
The gambit?
Yeah, of PGA content, then by the time he is doing the walk along with the AirPod for national telecast, you're like, you can't stand the guy and his story. But if you just turn on like the 445 casual, it's incredible. It's perfect. How do you not tell that story?
I don't begrudge the broadcast for constantly bringing it
not
up,
at
because
all.
most people aren't watching 9 hours of coverage every single day, and they have to like watch it 10 times throughout the course of the broadcast. It's no different than the Francis Oumlet thing from the US Open last year that they just dropped into every time they'd switch broadcasts. Like, hey, let's throw this pre-package. The other one was Eric Compton's story the year at Pinehurst with Keimer, where he was coming back from the heart surgery. It's like, you're now making me like turn on a guy because you won't stop talking about this because I'm watching so much coverage. I don't need to hear this every 10 minutes. Like, I get it. It's a great story. Now you're making me like go away, Eric Compton. I don't want to hear about this anymore. Like, that's not the position you want to be in. But that's for such a fractional part of the audience that, that's part of the hits that we have to take because we're investing so much time into this and they want to get that story out to the mass audience. So I completely understand. So I can't really begrudge that. The one thing that they started to do a little bit towards the end of the broadcast at the Players was mention how much fucking money these shots were worth. During the race for the FedEx Cup and they have the FedEx Cup points on the screen, it's like, oh, he made a bogey. Here's where he drops to. They should have that with the money when there's that much money. If it's all about the money, and that's all this is about at this point, that you have to pay these guys, millions and millions, and they can't be a cut because they have to get paid, well, then show me how much fucking money that Tom Hoagie is putting for. They finally brought it up, but going into the hole, it's like, hey, if Hoagie Beach here makes par, he's going to win an extra $750,000. Then you get to his putts like, hey, this is up and downs for $750K here. Like, show that on the screen. What he wins with, what he gets with a birdie, what he gets with a par, what he gets with a bogey, that kind of thing. Like, that's compelling stuff.
That's a genius idea. And it doesn't take an ideas man like yourself to figure that out. But I would literally put that as no chance. No chance. But I think you're 100% right, and that would be compelling. Even our buddy Rick Gaiman, I think, had some ideas. Like, they do these dumb Wyndham Rewards things, or that, what is it, Comcast Top 10. Like, take all that money, and there should be like big purses for low round of the day, or all sorts of things that can make the in broadcast experience like better. If we're looking to throw around money, like, they do it with the dumbest things. There's ways to I guess do it better, but I agree they should emphasize that, especially with the lower tier guys.
So from 50 to 100, the guys that I'm not going to be betting these guys because, again, Spieth is going to take up. So Spieth and now Hadwin and Sue, those three guys below 40 to 1 kind of takes me out of this range. What I call the Pat Mayo losing money range. But like Vegas is here. Ben Ann, I think, is playing really well. Brandon Wu. I might be able to get myself to Higo if I can find a triple digit on him at some point. Obviously, Aaron Rye is playing really well. I think Johnny Vegas is a really nice fit for this course. But there's one player in particular that I did want to talk about. He hasn't played since the first week of February, which is strange. But now he's over here, ready for his Masters run. Vic Perez is like 60 to 1 in this field. He won in Abu Dhabi earlier this year.
Yeah, that one stood out. And some places have labeled him Pat Perez. I've seen that going around on books. And maybe we could peek at Live Tucson when we're done. But yeah, that one is intriguing. And I'm known to waste money on that exact spot. Like that European who I feel is being not valued properly versus the field he's in on a course that is European Tour-esque, as we've sort of spoken about a lot in Florida. Could be tight and narrow, penal, a lot of trouble, winning score. So I think it could be right up his wheelhouse. I'll be really, if I don't bet the outright, I'll probably like to do some things off of that 66 to 1 with like placings or something. We can find out, but I'm into the very popular Brandon Wu, Pat. Okay, I mean, it's easy to see. I think a lot of people went to bed last night thinking to catch something on him, and DraftKings is the 66, which I feel is top of market. So if you're interested in Brandon, I don't know. I sniffed like a dog around 75 to 1 Aaron Rye as well. Just always seems to, I don't know, find his way onto TV.
Unless you bet him at the Honda Classic like we all did. And then he didn't have such a good go at the Honda Classic.
Yeah, but he I don't know, he keeps it straight. He does sort of what I am looking for, but I am doing what I feel you are snapping out of, which is just saying, fuck it. I'm betting like two near the top, a guy in the mid that I like have a feeling on, and I'm waiting to pop like a 90 or 100 to 1 on a guy for me.
Yeah,
like that is the card construction. Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm just, I don't know, Spieth.
Yeah, maybe listen, Spieth's probably not your guy. I like what I've seen from Spieth over the course of the past 2 weeks at Bay Hill and the Players. I thought he's played pretty well.
You are not wrong, and you could argue that those aren't ideal course fits for him either. So you take his performance and you give it an extra check.
And I do anticipate that this is going to play a little bit more difficult this time around. And I think the more you ratchet up the difficult nature of a course, the more it benefits Spieth.
Hard to disagree about that. It's going to be about making those up and downs.
Which, who does that better than him?
Other than Scotty Scheffler, feels like nobody.
Well, Scotty Scheffler doesn't get the ball up and down. He just gets the ball in.
That is true. Did you see on that note on the broadcast this week? It was something good I think they did on Golf Channel when they had, I think it was only because they had technical difficulties. They aired those conversations with the guy who created the strokes gained and gave the insights behind it. Did you see any of that?
I did not. No, I spent most of my time watching the ESPN Plus feeds, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, no, that's fair, but pardon?
Is that where it was? I know. I'm not.
No, it was on.
I think.
I guess it. It was on the golf. It was on the Golf Channel.
Okay, I watch most golf with no sound on, except for the final part of the final round, because I usually I now just run on a treadmill while I watch golf. I listen to music.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thing about golf is it's on through the day, and you're just rummaging around the house, and yeah, I'm probably leaving too many screens on, but yes, okay, we can get back to it. We were. So I'll probably waste money on Brandon Wu.
Sure. Listen, I was in on Brandon Wu DraftKings wise last week. There is a Wu that I am betting this week, but it is not Brandon Wu. But Bhatia, Higo, and Pearson Coody are all up from 80 to 1 to 100 to 1, depending on where you look. It feels like one of those guys could win this tournament. Coody's just been making every cut.
He's been playing clean. This would be a nice, fun story for Bhatia. Score the card and then win here. I guess it's not as coastal as he would like, but it is in a coastal area.
Yeah, it's in a coastal part of the country.
Yeah. Based on where I've seen his best performances. It was lovely to see Eric Cole.
Well, that was the other name I wanted to go to. Eric Cole, DraftKings has him at 66. He's 100 to 1 and more at other places. For a bomb, it's not like he's been playing poorly.
Not at all. Not at all. I don't see myself getting there, but I don't mind that. I'm more attracted to the Higo Cole that's been poking around this morning of all those guys you mentioned.
I think Higo is the one for me because the Bhatia number, it just in real time dropped to 90 to 1 at DraftKings Sportsbook. So that's nice to see. I'll probably end up on Higo at 90, Bhatia, see if I can get him at 100. Ludwig Adberg's here as well. Cuss buddy.
Oh yeah.
World's number one amateur.
He'll get a lot of airtime. How because I've been logged out of my Fantasy National and can't remember my password.
Smart.
How poorly has Matt Neesmith been playing? This does seem like
where did I play him? I played him somewhere recently, and I think he was 9 over par in the first round. I think he rallied in the second round, but it just wasn't enough. Let's see, Trey Mullinix is another one who's been playing, so he didn't play so well at the Players. I wouldn't expect him to play well at the Players. But he kind of fits that coke rack mold of guys that are just fucking killing it, ball striking right now. That's what we've seen. Look at some of the winners that we've seen here. Burns is kind of an outlier because he puts so well on Bermuda, but it's not like he had poor ball striking weeks. He actually lost strokes off the tee, I think, last year, fractionally, but still played really well on approach. But Casey, and remember that year, it's Casey, Connors, Tiger. It's all guys that you expect to drive it well and hit their irons fantastically. That's generally who ends up prevailing here. Now, if it's harder, you're going to get more of the scrambling in there too, and that's inevitably what ended up costing Kokrak his win against Casey, is that he couldn't get the ball up and down because he sucks at chipping. Mullinix has been on a nice run. It seems like he's cleaned that up a lot, although I've had enough money on Mullinix over the years to know that doesn't generally go well when you need to get an up and down from Trey Mullinix.
Yeah, I remember when you needed that one. I don't really have a ton to offer in this range. Boy, Kirshner's been selling the Ben Taylor hard.
Just
At
got
his
married.
wedding last weekend,
Yeah,
Pat.
skip the
Off
players to get
wedding.
married.
Yeah. T5 at the Honda. He's already got two T5s this year. Good Bermuda putter off the wedding. I'm like, I don't know if I'm there, but I love the angle.
Funny thing about Ben Taylor is he's been knocking out these really like the shorter type courses, which would make the players like actually a pretty good spot for him. The sneaky thing about Valspar, it's a par 71, and like par adjusted, it's really long. Like it's 7,300 and like you don't think like 7,350 yards, not that long, but it's a par 71. It's a longish course, and I think that gets lumped in with the Heritage and the Sony, but I don't feel like it has anything in common with those courses besides strength of field.
I guess, does it get lumped in just because of how like prevalent they're not using a driver off the tee has felt here?
Sometimes, but I think that's more like Stenson uses fucking 3-wood everywhere. It didn't matter what the course was. He used it at the fucking Masters.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point as to what it is. Once you factor in what par is, then it is a lot longer than the perception, because I do fall into the perception that it is it's not as long as the others, and it is probably closer to something like Heritage.
I would think that the reason that's the case is because most of the best players in the world are absolute monsters off the tee. They hit it as far as you can possibly believe. Well, they don't fucking play here. So they don't have it. Like when Bubba played here, Bubba played well. When Dustin played here, Dustin played well. When Rom played here, Rom played well. Like they're hitting driver every time.
Yeah, even Sam Burns played amazing. He's hitting a ton of driver, I feel.
Yeah, Casey's hitting driver every time. So you can't, but the thing is, it feels like there is a path to the shorter hitter doing it here, because if you can keep it clean, keep it out of the rough, keep yourself out of trouble, you're just not going to get snake pitted kind of thing.
Any love for you? I will not be part of this, but there was that Webb Simpson contingent last week with that 200.
I was there.
But I mean, it's still, I guess now that you mention, it's like reminded me it's longer than my perception. I guess don't need, but I was like, it still can fit a nice clean Webb Simpson week, 100-1.
I think it's in play. When I was going back and watching throughout time, like a post-prime Sean O'Hare got to a playoff with Reed and Spieth at this tournament. Bill Haas, who hasn't been good in 10 years, got into a playoff with Charles Schwartzel at this course not too long ago. So the past the prime used to be good, that type of player has flashed here in the past. And I mean, I think Webb Simpson is kind of fitting that bill right now.
Yeah. So
100-1 and beyond. The two that I bet Kramer Hickok with 5 placement points, so a top 5 as well at 125-1, and I bet Dylon Wu at 200-1 with the top 5. I don't think there's that much separating Brandon and Dylan Wu.
150, Dylon Wu. Yeah.
If you go to a place that's open 365 days a year, he's 200-1.
Okay, that's tempting with your placings. It's
like Brandon Wu rates out better overall, but it's mainly because the long irons for Dylan Wu just aren't very good. Like he struggles on the longer par 4s, he struggles on the longer par 3s. That's not great. However, when you kind of flip it around, the short game for Wu is a lot better. The bogey avoidance is a lot better, and he hits every fucking fairway, which is fantastic. And he hits a ton of greens in regulation. Like overall, Brandon Wu gets it closer to the pin, and he tends to keep himself out of trouble, plays the longer holes a little bit better. But I don't think it's worth 4 times as much in the odds. If people are like really in on Brandon Wu, just discount Brandon Wu and take Dylan Wu.
Discount Brandon Wu. I like that.
There is a throwback name in this field that I haven't seen in like 5 years, which was a favorite of our buddy Drew Livingston when we worked at Fantasy. Big on this player, and it's not S.J. Kim or S.J. Park, whatever the hell that guy's name was. Remember him?
Is it another Korean?
Yes.
I'm lost.
It is. Oh, no, he's not in here. I thought he was playing. I don't know why this came up on the research show. Whatever happened to Wee Kim?
Not a clue.
Is he doing his military service?
No, but scroll. Maybe he is. Wow, your boy Doug Gim, eh? The floor really fell out from under him.
Poor guy, man. Love me some Doug Gibb.
As-
The Players
you
was
got
always
me,
his
like,
spot.
Looking at the very bottom here.
So I think we're good here. I got to make a decision between Higo and Cole and Bhatia and Kuli. I think those are like that range that I can get into. But I almost have a full card here. So with 5 bets in, I think that's probably going to do it for me. So let's go to the quick picks. For the Valspar Championship, Spieth 14-1, Adam Hadwin 28-1, Justin Suh 40-1, Hickok and Dylan Wu 125 and 200-1, each with a top 5 each way to go along with it. With me thinking about Eric Cole, Higo. I'll probably end up on Higo. I love Higo. And then I have, maybe I'll think about, I'm not going to bet Victor Perez. So yeah, you can check out the cheat sheet on Wednesday, but I don't see myself adding too many more names that aren't Higo to this list.
For me, Gary Woodland 50-1. Other than that, I'm looking at Sue. I'm looking at Riley. I am looking at Brandon Wu. Oh my God, what a growth. Maybe you should just bet like Jordan Spieth. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah, instead of betting all those guys, bet Thomas, bet Thomas and Spieth for the same amount of money, and maybe you'll win.
Honestly, I could bet like Spieth, Tommy, and Woodland and call it a week and just bet a good player and my guys and then just be out of here and lose money that way.
Yeah.
I've bet Gary Woodland 50-1, enhanced win only.
One and done for the week. I'm taking Spieth. Cust is taking Keegan Bradley. Who you got?
Tommy.
I have to go make sure that you haven't taken Tommy yet.
I wouldn't have. He didn't play Honda.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you have not used Tommy, and I have not used Spieth. So we're
and
good
like
to,
honestly,
we're
when
good to
else? It's our last run in Florida for the year. He's so far off the. I'm not gonna pick 100-1, 120-1 guy at the PGA Championship and one and done. Like there's no other place. We're using it.
I just got 100-1 on Higo. So Higo, I'm in on 100-1. Perfect.
Where is it?
I'll tell you off air.
Oh,
I can't mention that one.
I hate them anyway.
Yeah, there we go. All right, that will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Jeff, can you join this bracket as everyone should so we can get money to charity?
Yes, I absolutely will join the bracket. I am pro charity, even if I am ineligible to win, being a Mayo Media
you can win.
employee of some sort.
I
will still make sure they enter
win.
for charity.
I can win it, so you can win it too. Everyone gets one shot, one free entry. The link is down in the description, or you go to leaguesafe.com/Mayo Madness in order to get your entry. It's $2,500 to first. I think it's $1,000 to second, all the way down to fifth, plus Scott Fishbowl entries. But the big thing is that for every person that enters the bracket, $1 goes to the Fantasy Cares charity, up to $25,000. So let's try to max this out and get as much money to that charity as possible. The link down in the description right now. Just checked in to see if the Listeners League popped up. It did not. So I will add that into the YouTube version of this show once that becomes available. So check back. I'll probably tweet it out at this point too, because I do want it to fill, because if it doesn't fill, then they'll make it smaller. Although if they don't give it to me till fucking Wednesday, then what the fuck am I supposed to do? Anyway, I don't need to bother you with the semantics of that. FantasyNational.com/Mayo, however, you get the monthly, you start getting match play, you start getting masters, all within that range. So I highly recommend that you go do that. FantasyNational.com/Mayo to get yourself that 20% off. All right? Smash the like on the way out, and I will see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!